Terrible. There was so much, that Nikki Haley story, which is appalling, that thing where they basically accused her of buying these curtains for whatever it was, $53,000. And it was really Samantha Power in the Obama administration. They buried that. It's only because they got caught. I mean, they finally ran this note at the top of the story. It was a little unfair of us, maybe as well, but we still don't like her, It's like, what on earth when you go to work at the New York Times and you're tying your tie or shaving your face in the morning or putting on your makeup in the morning and you look at yourself in the mirror, what do you think of yourself if you're working for that paper? You have to think that you are so wonderful, yet your philosophy is so great that it is worth lying and twisting things. The other one was this hurricane story, of Hurricane Maria and Hurricane Irma, which hit 3 weeks earlier in Puerto Rico. And they put out this story that there were it was the Milken Institute School of Public Health at George Washington University, found that from September 2017 through this February, there are an estimated 2,975 excess mortalities in the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, meaning 3,000 people who wouldn't have died if the hurricane hadn't hit. And so President Trump pushed back, and he tweeted last week that 3,000 people did not die in the two hurricanes that hit Puerto Rico, and that when he visited soon after Maria, the toll was between 6 people and 18. So just to show you the measured, careful way that the press reacted, judging, these 3,000 people who wouldn't have died against Trump's tweet. Here's a perfect example of the way the press treated this. Jennifer Rubin on MSNBC.
Donald Trump has killed those people twice. Once through neglect and oversight, and secondly, disgracing that they died at all. And that's what death denial, that's what Holocaust denial, that's what all these denial syndromes are all about, is killing the person twice.
Well, that seems fair. Donald Trump sent out a tweet. It was like he flew to Puerto Rico, denied the Holocaust, and then leapt upon these people and strangled them to death. It's exactly what it was like. Jake Tapper, he just called it a lie. He was citing the governor of Puerto Rico, who wants to be a Democrat presidential candidate. It's insane. So Mary Anastasius O'Grady, I love her name. She sounds like a nun. But in fact, she is the Latin America correspondent, columnist for the Wall Street Journal. So she wrote a piece today, and she said, Trump is in the right of this. He was being treated unfairly. Their excess mortality, first of all, is not the normal way that you judge how many people died in a hurricane. You judge how many people die in a hurricane by how many people are killed during the hurricane. Excess mortality studies aren't the way you count the dead, because who knows why people died? Who knows? How can you say, well, his car crashed into a tree, but it might not have if there hadn't been a hurricane 3 days before? It's just not fair. But the point about this is that there aren't any other hurricanes that have been measured in that way. So there's no way to compare the deaths in Puerto Rico to other places, other hurricanes. So, because the case they're trying to make is that Trump and FEMA kind of botched the hurricane thing. And then they sell this on CNN. Oh, he doesn't care about brown people. You know the routine. They do it 100 times, 1,000,000 times. You've seen it and seen it and seen it. But it's all ridiculous. I mean, and the point that Mary O'Grady makes in the Wall Street Journal is that the attack on Trump is a disservice to Puerto Ricans. This is her writing. She says it helps the island politicians dodge their own responsibility for the loss of life. The failure of medical equipment due to power outages, for example, may have been one cause of numerous post-storm deaths. But as Mary Williams Walsh detailed in a New York Times story titled "How Free Electricity Helped Dig $9 billion Hole in Puerto Rico," island officials mismanaged the power company for years, which left the grid highly vulnerable when the storm hit. In fact, she says, local government was thoroughly unprepared for Maria. According to the George Washington University study, neither the Department of Public Safety nor the Central Communications Office in the governor's office had written crisis and emergency risk communication plans in place. The Health Department's Office of Emergency Preparedness and Response had an outdated emergency plan. I'm trying to make a general point here, Because of the left, because the left owns the press, because the left owns the media, because they have been hysterical about every Republican since Reagan and are now hysterical about Donald Trump, who I will admit gives them more cause for hysteria, both by the fact that he's more effective than most presidents and by the fact that he behaves badly at times, they have lost all sense of what they are supposed to be doing. They have lost all sense of truth. They have lost all just, the Russian thing, the Russian collusion investigation. If it comes out, as I'm almost positive it will, that Trump had nothing to do with, was not colluding with Russia to do whatever colluding means. I mean, colluding, there's not even a law against colluding, not even a legal term. But if it turns out that there was no collusion between Trump and Russia during the campaign, as I'm almost certain it will when Mueller is finished with his investigation, what have they been doing to us for the last 2 years? What have they been doing to us for the last 2 years?